All right, I think we're live. Just me right now. Aidan's going to hop in just a sec. Appreciate everybody that is tuning in. If you can hear me, if somebody could comment, that'd be great. Usually I have somebody there to give me feedback. Like I said, Aidan will be on in just a sec. Didn't want to take too long on this. Just, something we kind of just figured we'd throw together, talk hoops for 20, 30 minutes, and knowing us, it'd probably go longer because that's just what we do when it comes to this type of stuff. Really great, fun day of college basketball. I thought, a couple upsets. There weren't, there was two big upsets. Furman ending was crazy. So, and we're gonna get into all that. And then obviously, Princeton knocking off Arizona. We'll definitely get into that as that happens. Right now, two games live, but they're both blowouts. UCLA up 81-51 on UNC Asheville, and then Penn State up 69-48 on Texas A&M, which is Penn State's legit. I think they're a team that had a very, didn't have a great stretch in kind of late January, mid-February type area. They've really turned it around since March. They were talking about it on the broadcast. Obviously they faced Purdue in the Big Ten championship, and even that they got close. Drake Hobbs brings up Penn State will beat Texas, and after watching today, I don't see why they couldn't. I don't know if I'm not going to guarantee it, but I mean, if Funk goes, whatever, if he's up to 8 threes at this point. Last time when I was watching, he was 7 of 8. Yeah, 7 of 9 now from 3. They shoot 12 of 19 from 3 overall, which is just nuts. And then they shut down Texas A&M flat out. And A&M is more built on their defense. They're not like a insanely talented offensive team. And now we do have Aidan here, and he'll join it. There.
What's going on?
Just talking Penn State's greatness over here. So just kind of where we were going, and then wrapping up. Just kind of wrapped up the day. I assume we'll hit on a couple games big. We didn't really talk about how we want to do this, so we'll figure it out. But yeah, no, we were just talking about Penn State. They're up, they're up 69-48 right now with a few minutes left in the game. UCLA is up. Every other game is done. What kind of, maybe besides the Princeton and the Furman upsets, because we'll save those, what kind of stood out to you today?
I thought Northern Kentucky played a really good game with Houston. Obviously Penn State stood out as just a barrage of shooting, as I'm sure you've touched on. Good win for the Big Ten. Maybe we start with Maryland, West Virginia, since that was the first game of the day. And that was a game you were on Maryland. I thought West Virginia would win. It was kind of just a back and forth game, and really was impressed by West Virginia's shot making for a lot of it. But Maryland just had an answer for everything, and it comes down. They get Young on a trap, and instead of getting the steal and going the other way, getting a layup, it gets bounced around, and Maryland gets a layup, and that's kind of how the ball bounces. And then from there, they kind of took control of the game. So, yeah, resilient win by Maryland. We'll see. I mean, Brandon Miller may be dealing with an injury. Could they give Bama some trouble? I think just throwing a lot of different defenses at them, like we've seen them do to Purdue and other teams, could be interesting. I'm not willing to say pick that upset or anything, but could be interesting, man.
Yeah. I think Maryland gives them a shot. I don't know if it happens. What one seed that won today do you trust the least? At least purely in round 2.
I think Kansas has the toughest matchup with Arkansas. They looked really good against Illinois. But Houston, it's hard not to say Houston because of that.
They looked the worst today.
Northern Kentucky was a little underseeded, but still, I think Houston, like without the uncertainty of Sasser, and just the lulls offensively that they can go through. Like today, I thought they really at times just couldn't hit a shot, and Northern Kentucky was answering. So yeah, definitely Houston would be the one seed I'm most concerned about. But then again, I don't know that they really struggle with Auburn. Maybe in Birmingham they could. Auburn didn't look terrible today. So that could be a close game. I think we could get a lot of close 1-8 games. I definitely think Purdue's 1-8 game will be close. Assuming Purdue gets out of it. And then the other ones all could be too. So
I mean, I before the bracket I had Arkansas beating Kansas. So that's who I would go with. But Houston looked the worst today.
Yeah, they looked the worst. Yeah.
Plus, Sasser got re-injured the groin, so there's that. I don't know why he played today, to be honest. Just based on, obviously, I'm nowhere near a doctor, but everything I've heard is groin injuries are ones that are pretty easy to re-aggravate, and like maybe I guess they knew they needed him against Northern Kentucky or something, but I feel like that's a team you just hope you're like, yeah, we'll be able to skate by against them without him, but they didn't. He's and hopefully he is all good. I hope that, and he takes on Auburn, because Auburn's a team I don't trust. If Auburn wins, I would probably take anybody out of the Miami, Drake, Indiana, Kent State over Auburn if that were to happen.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I don't trust Auburn, and see how that works. But let's get to the biggest upset of the day. Make sure we hit on that, and that's Arizona Princeton, and a game that this is Arizona's MO. They are an uber talented team. Like Tubelis is one of the best players in the country. I don't know if he made All-American first or second team. Kirk Risa has his moments. Balo is a beast down low. They're battling injuries, and they have depth besides that. At their peak, they are a top. I still have them as like a top 5 team at their peak. Sheet has a knee injury. That's a good call by Drake Hobbs. But Arizona just has let too many bad teams this year, or not bad, because I think that's unfair to Princeton. But too many less talented teams just stick around. And you look at their losses at Utah, home against Washington State, at Oregon, at Stanford, and then Arizona State and UCLA are a little more acceptable. But like, it's just games that if the offense isn't fully clicking, they had nowhere, similar kind of to Purdue last year. It's just like you couldn't call on the defense enough. And I shout out Princeton, because like this is not as a full of Arizona just played bad. Like Princeton played well too. Princeton shot 4-25 from 3 and still won. You don't do that as a 15 seed unless you did something else really well. And they just shut off Arizona's interior. I thought like that, Tabell still had 22, just kind of looking at the stats. Balo had 13. It helped that really none of the other guards got going, but I thought in the second half, they just shrunk the floor, took away the interior, and just said, all right, try to beat us elsewhere. Tabellis, if you want to take jumpers, go for it. And I guess that's just, because like if you look at the stats, Princeton had 2 more offensive rebounds, 2 fewer turnovers. They combined between the two teams was 12 free throws. Neither team shot well from 3. Like it's not like it wasn't just like a pure variance game. There was some schematic stuff. What'd you see from it, or whatever you did see?
Yeah, I saw similar. I mean, it was just down that stretch where they just let them hang around, and then, yeah, Princeton shut the water off. I mean, they locked in defensively. Like you said, they forced Balo and Tubelis into, you really want to make those bigs take those tough contested hooks, or those shots where they're kind of just forcing it up to the rim in between, the restricted area and obviously like right, like basically your toes on that restricted area. And if it's fully contested, a lot of times that's just a tough shot to make. Like you've seen Trace Jackson Davis miss that shot a lot, right?
Yeah.
And Bellis missed it quite a bit. I thought their hands were super active. Got a lot of steals there when they really needed them. I thought for sure they were dead in the water when they had a chance to take the lead. They missed that 3. Then they come down, do it. They get a steal. They get another chance to take the lead. They chuck another. It was open, but you're thinking, oh, wow, that's a quick shot there. They missed both those 3s. You're like, okay, Arizona's going to take control, and they just couldn't score. It was crazy because, like you said, the numbers completely would lie to you on this game, and that Arizona's been one of the best offensive teams all year, but it was their offense that was the problem, I thought. I mean, they down the stretch, they just couldn't score, and obviously Princeton hit some tough shots. The one kid going right into Balo, or not Balo, Henderson there, driving right into Henderson and scoring over him. That was impressive, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was shocking, man. I'm so mad at myself because I had Alabama winning it all, and then last night I just talked myself. I didn't want to pick Alabama for obvious reasons, and so I was like, I don't want to pick Alabama. I didn't want to pick Creighton because I feel like so I just was like, okay, I'm going to just take Arizona, and I took Arizona to my Final Four. And you're so right. I mean, this was who they were all year. I mean, they were ripe for the picking, especially with some injuries. So this is definitely one of those. And you had Utah State beating them, so you were all over this.
I had Arizona losing round 2 to Utah State, which neither of those teams actually made it there.
Yeah. But
no, it's just who Arizona was. Like if they got Alabama, if they made it that far, I would have. I don't know if they would have won for sure, but I would have trusted them. Like I think they would have been there. But they just let less talented teams stick. And we can stick with the South. Maybe we'll just go region by region. Alabama knocks off Texas A&M Corpus Christi 96-75. I believe Brandon Miller was scoreless, but he's nursing an injury. I don't really know anything besides that. We touched on Maryland 67-65 win over West Virginia in a back and forth game. Maryland showed up for the first half, and Willard made I thought it was pretty funny comments of, we were only down 8 or 9 at half. Like if you'd watched us all season, that wasn't too bad. And that's facts because they were. I mean, I've been pushing that all year of just they're so bad away from home, but they get a win, and I'm hoping they put up a fight against Alabama. I don't know if they do. If Brandon Miller's kind of nursing an injury, then I think they have more of a realistic chance. But at Blake, they get Texas round 2, so just clear that up. I think we can pass that. San Diego State versus Charleston, 63-57. San Diego State wins. This was one game that I wish I paid attention to a bit more. Just the way the screens work in that, I was more of a kind of third type game. So I don't have a ton of takeaways from that. Did you catch anything in there?
It went about how I thought it would. I did pay good attention to it. Just San Diego State's a tough team, man, and they are tough on the perimeter. They really guard you, and they didn't make it look easy. They never do. There were times where it felt like Charleston was on the cusp of making a run and was going to take the game, kind of take control of the game. But San Diego State kept battling. They really were good on slipping their Chicago action, and they got a lot of buckets off that. And it was apparent early, and Charleston never was able to get that shut off to the point where the basically the game deciding bucket happened on that again, getting San Diego State's big, who's long and athletic, getting him slipping to the rim. And it was, to me, that was a pretty obvious one. It felt like a bad matchup for Charleston, and that kind of bore out, unfortunately for them. And now they get Furman, man. I mean, we could talk about that.
Yeah, that's the other upset.
Boy, as Purdue fans, I mean, everyone was talking about Kihei Clark has now made potentially the best and worst passes in NCAA tournament history, and it seems true. I mean, just what are you thinking?
And you have a timeout.
Just crazy. I mean, Tony Bennett deserves some blame for sure for not calling it, but it's also like my 5th-year senior guard has the ball. Like he's going to either call a timeout or make the right play, and just chucked it up for grabs. And Jalen Slauson was saying it afterwards in the postgame. He just threw it, man. He just threw it. Yeah. And it's like, wow, he really did. And then, I mean, literally, if he had turned and punted that ball into the upper deck,
it would have been better.
Probably win the game, because now you get to set your defense. But nope, we're going to give him a rhythm 3. Guy just pulls the trigger with the utmost confidence, which I loved.
Yeah.
And wow, I mean, just and they did. They let him hang around. I mean, they were up 50-38. The game wasn't lost. Yes, it was lost there, but if they had been a little bit better during that run, they kind of took their foot off the gas. You know how Virginia's offense tends to – it's already slow. So when they have a double-digit lead, they're just going to play keep away. And it bit them, man. It tends to bite teams, and it did again here.
Yeah, and that's where – I mean, Virginia won a national championship in the past 5 years. So they do something right, and they're always solid. Just their style, I think it makes it hard to be great. Like, for a team trying to pull off an upset, you want as much variance as possible. And for as much variance to be there, you want as slow as game as possible. It's easier to beat a team in 5 possessions rather than 70 if you're the worst team, right? And Virginia plays a super slow style, and they don't have anybody elite that can take advantage of it. Like, I think Purdue can get away with it because you slow it down, you throw it into Zach Edey, and now he can go to work. I don't, Virginia doesn't really have that, and they still should have won this game. I like Furman. I thought they were fun. Slauson looked good. As a team, they shot 10 of 28 from 3. Virginia was 2 of 12, and that's part of it. Furman's going to put up threes. They were ice cold to start, and then they started hitting them. So that's that was definitely that was my favorite singular moment. Obviously, the Princeton win in general, but that was just because chaos. Yeah, it was just like Furman's gonna lose. It's just kind of be free throws and then back and forth, and then you just see him chuck the ball 50 feet, and you're like, what? And then he drills it. And then,
Yeah,
like
and
you said,
we
just
really
absolute confidence.
and we needed that early jolt to get going
Yeah.
here on March. I mean, because it was such a pretty bad late window, a lot of blowouts and just uninteresting games. Like the Louisiana game was close, but it was just a tough watch. So it was good that we got that like iconic March Madness moment to go along with obviously the 2 seed, and it was such a you almost never see that sort of 2-15 win where the team really just dictates tempo. I mean, the 15th seed made it their game, which you usually see them get hot, the other team's turning it over a ton, you Dunk City, whatever. But no, I mean, they took the game and just wrestled it away. And it's kind of similar to St. Peter's last year, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. We can move on in the South, I think. The only other one was Missouri beating Utah State 76-65.
Crazy run at the end to win
Missouri
that one.
can just make a ton of shots, and that's really all I have there.
Yeah, it was back and forth for most of it, and then just at the end, Kobe Brown took over, and that's what I had feared would happen. Another game that I just talked myself out of. I picked Missouri on our thing yesterday, and then tonight I'm like, I think it's Utah State, so I switched back to that, and just what the heck. But that's just how it goes. I definitely am the guy who talks myself out of every pick, and then it ends up being wrong, and that has proved to be the case again.
For the people that did tune into the pick show, I submitted the bracket to like the ESPN. We missed Missouri, Arizona. We picked Iowa.
Oof.
And that was it. We went 13-16 today. We're in the 98th percentile. Yeah, 98.5. So that's solid. Let's move to the East. Tennessee knocks off Louisiana 58-55. I got to be honest, I didn't watch a ton of this because Tennessee was just in control, and then they weren't right at the end. But at that point, like Houston was kind of not in control, and then I love watching Penn State. So that was where my focus was more. This makes sense. 58-55. Tennessee's going to muck games up. I didn't know a ton about Louisiana coming in, but we can kind of pair it with the other team game in that area was Duke just obliterating Oral Roberts 74-51. Oral Roberts didn't score for 8 minutes. What just in general for maybe that matchup, whatever you want to talk about between those two games.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I do think there's going to be some overreaction on Tennessee Duke. Like, I think everyone's going to pick Duke, and I do think it'll be a close game. Dalen doesn't think Duke looked that good. Maybe was your takeaway kind of just Oral Roberts just looked awful? Because that's fair. Kind of the variance here with Andy thinking they looked like the best team. I thought the first stretch, Derek Lively was just on another level. I mean, it was one of the more impressive stretches I've seen by a player all year, where he literally just blew Oral Roberts up. Every single action they tried, he blew up as a center. And it was, it really jumped off the page, even though his stats maybe weren't like crazy, but he was blocking shots. He dunked the ball, got a bunch of rebounds in that stretch. And then they just set the tone, I think, of like, this is JV varsity. And it really looked like that. It was tough. A. Smith really struggled.
He struggled.
They hard hedged him and were physical with him. And then, he got some good looks early, but they were from deep, good looks for him, and just didn't get him to go. And
4-15 on the day.
Yeah, if he's the head of the snake, so if you cut him off, it's going to be a lot harder to score. And yeah, Duke fired on all cylinders. Some really impressive shot making as well. Greek Whitehead hitting some shots, Jeremy Roach hitting some shots. Obviously, I didn't watch a ton of the second half, but certainly that first half was just whoa, because I expected it to be a fun game, and then for them to just come out and drop the hammer like that was like, okay, whoa. But I do think
Duke probably heard that they were a trendy upset pick or something. They must have just said, we're not playing around.
Right. Yeah. They're like, no, screw this. We're here. Obviously you think they got to be the favorite against Tennessee, but Tennessee could make it. Tennessee could make it a grinder. Tennessee could force them into a lot of really tough shots, and I think it's going to come down to, can Tennessee hit some shots of their own? Typically, the answer this year has been no, but I do think it's going to be a close game, and so I would encourage people not to overreact and just assume Duke will blow them out of the water just because they were close and Duke was not.
Yeah, because the Tennessee game, too, was like they were in control that whole game. And it was just Louisiana goes on a little bit of run. That is who Tennessee is. They another team that plays, really good defensively, plays slow. So if they go on a spree of making some mistakes, getting some turnovers, now like they're putting themselves in a tough spot because they don't have the offense really to do it, especially with Ziegler out, which obviously stinks a lot. So yeah, that'll be interesting. That one's 3/18. The time came out, or March 18th, sorry, at 2:40 on CBS. So that'll be a good one for sure. We'll move over to the West. Kansas knocks off Howard 96-68. Howard stuck around a little bit in the first half, and then Kansas was just like, all right, we're good. I had Howard plus 13 first half, and they were like tied with like 4 or 5 minutes left, and then it actually pushed at 13. But that's all. I didn't really, once Kansas was up 25, I didn't really watch that. I think the Arkansas-Illinois game is a little more interesting. Arkansas wins 73-63. Illinois wanted to come back, it looked like, a little bit in the second half. And then I just think, I think Craig said it on Twitter, just like Illinois trying to out athleticize Arkansas doesn't quite work against Arkansas. They're kind of built for that. I think this was a really bad matchup for Illinois, to be honest. What they wanted to do, just Arkansas just said, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, it was tough, and thought
Illinois never helps themselves either.
No, they just don't. They just make it absolutely as hard as possible. They clearly do not like each other. This group of guys. I mean, it does jump off the screen, and it's we've seen it all year. They just weren't going to be that team that we had hoped they might be. I thought Jordan Walsh for Arkansas was awesome. Just making all the little plays, rebounding, defending at a high level. He is a really impressive freshman who doesn't. He's one of the rare 5-stars who doesn't put up a ton of points, but you're super impressed by him. The bald guy, he stands out pretty well. He's bald, and so you can tell, he's flying around out there, and really impressed by him. But other than that, I thought Arkansas was just the better team, straight up. They both were trying to do similar things, and Arkansas was just better at it.
Yeah, and like I said, I think Arkansas at least makes it really close against Kansas, if not win.
Beat Kansas. Yeah,
I really think they can. I think they got the length. You can take away DeJuan Harris more with that, and that's, Wilson's good enough that he's just going to get his. Grady Dick's good enough, I think, that he's going to get his.
But they got wing athleticism to bother those guys, make it tough on them.
Yeah, exactly. And then you mess up Harris too with it. Kansas is a 1 seed for a reason. Kansas got so screwed with their bracket. They just got. I mean, I guess win your Big 12 title game, don't get blown out, and maybe you get thrown in the Midwest instead of Houston. That could be the response there, but man, that's tough. The other one, Northwestern beats Boise State that's their first ever win in March Madness, correct?
Yeah.
75-67. Higher scoring game than I thought, than a lot of people thought. It's just Boo Buie does enough, and I've kind of, I don't know, I haven't been anti-Northwestern, but I've been on the train of, I think they aren't quite as good as the record shows in that. They look solid today. If they can get enough shots to go, I'm pulling up the stats now. I mean, Boo Buie was 8 of 14, 7 of 10 from 2, 22 points, 5 assists, 1 turnover. And you just hope you get, Ty Berry went 3 of 4 from 3. You're hoping you get that game from Berry or Barron or Barnheiser off the bench. You're hoping one of those guys can do that. And now you have a secondary option, and then Chase Audige is going to do his thing. Boise State hung around, though. Max Rice was doing everything he could to start that second half to just keep Boise State alive.
Yes.
But in the end, Northwestern was probably just a little more talented overall.
Yeah, and shout out Brooks Barnheiser had a nice game. Really contributed well. I thought he showed well for himself. Played really hard, and was sort of a weird, just kind of a guy that they didn't really have an equal for on the other side. Of just like that kind of long, strong 4-man. So impressed by him, impressed by Northwestern. And we can lump this in with UCLA.
UCLA routes. I didn't watch any of the UCLA game because they were playing up 20-0, and they beat UNC Asheville 86-53.
Yeah, they rolled, and so everyone. I don't know. I think Northwestern could give them a good game. Maybe even beat them. I think we picked them to beat them in our bracket. I think they can just. Bowie will have to outplay Campbell, but he could. And Audige can give them something. Audige can maybe bother Campbell a little bit. Maybe they'll even try Audige on Hawkes at times. that could potentially work fairly well with Audij's just strength and activity level. And then Nicholson can kind of be an anchor down there. And I don't know. I think Northwestern could bait UCLA into taking a lot of tough shots. Now, maybe UCLA will just make those
UCLA
shots.
just do it too.
Yeah, and they'll do it to themselves. Hawkeye certainly will take him himself.
Who do you put on Hawkeyes?
Boy, probably Audij. But maybe Barron, I guess, to start. I don't know.
Yeah.
Audij could really get under him and bother him, I think.
But then you're putting Barron on Bailey?
Oh, God, maybe not.
Are you putting Barry on Bailey?
I don't know who else they start. I don't know who else UCLA starts. Who's their three? Singleton?
Well, because they've had the injuries. Who'd they play today? Singleton.
Yeah, I think Barron could guard Singleton, maybe.
And then you put Barry on Bailey?
Bailey, yeah. I mean,
okay.
Could go a number of different ways with it. Certainly, if you put Barron on Hawkins, then you want Audij on Campbell, probably.
Campbell had 10 assists today. That's funny.
He's so good.
He is.
So good.
I think UCLA wins. I just trust Hawkeyes more. But
yeah, they've got the two best.
If Northwestern can just fully muck it up, and I don't think UCLA is not going to run from it, so they might allow it to. UCLA is not a super fast. UCLA is going to fit in the Big Ten when they join.
It'll be a grinder. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it could be a grinder, and then if that happens, like Bowie is a guy that I trust to at least put the ball in his hands and say go make a play. Whether he makes it or not, always I'm still concerned about, but
sure.
He's kept proving me wrong, and I just have to tip my hat to him because he's done well. So move to the Midwest, kind of wrap it up there. Houston beats Northern Kentucky 63-52, and we kind of touched on it a bit.
Yeah, we talked on that. Yeah,
just didn't look good. They did not look great. They lost to Memphis in the and what are they in the AAC?
Yeah.
In that championship game. So and they play Auburn. Auburn wins 83-75. If Iowa knew how to make an open three, it's probably a different game. You could say that, I guess, about Auburn too. Like I said, I just don't trust Auburn. I think Houston still wins, but I'm a little more concerned about Houston.
Yeah, I think I'm mildly concerned. I think they could beat. I think Auburn could definitely beat them. I think that'll be a good game. I want to see the health of Sasser. Without him, they become so much more stagnant offensively. Yeah. I still trust them to make a deep run if everyone's at full strength, but it just doesn't seem that that's the case, and so that's limiting for them. I don't, and they don't have the easiest path. They could get lucky and get like Drake or Kent State,
Yeah, we had them against Drake.
But again, Norchad Omier for Miami is playing, and so now you think about them and go, okay, they got great guard play and a stud big. It's a good point by Dead Hoosier. They turned it over a lot. Northern Kentucky, I thought, showed really well for themselves too. Had some good key shot making.
Northern Kentucky was close, and they went 5 of 33 from three.
I know. A
little bit of that was just chucking at the ends.
Yeah, it was.
We'll take that out. 5 of 27, 5 of 28. Same thing with the Princeton. Usually these upsets or these close calls are man, this team just kind of shot out of their minds.
It was weird. Yeah.
It just wasn't that today. It really wasn't.
I think Auburn, man, I don't want to pick Auburn, but I think they might beat them. I really think they'll give them a game. So we'll have to monitor that. That Auburn team, obviously, kind of just taking care of Iowa. They made it close at the end a little bit, but they were in control during that game. Their guards played really well. Broom was really good inside. Yeah. And I thought that'd be maybe a little bit closer than it ended up being, but Auburn was clearly the better team.
Remind me next year if Iowa's not a top 3 seed in the tourney. Just remind me that hey, they're gonna lose. Just remind me that because I fall for it every year. I really do. Last year I think I had them going Final Four last year.
Oh, gosh.
I was bought in and just nope. So I just that's a mental note to me. I got to make. We'll go. Let's go to Texas Colgate, and then we'll wrap up with our favorite team, favorite non-Purdue team. Texas wins 81-61 over Colgate. This was another game. Didn't watch a ton. I saw Colgate kind of made a run at it in the second half. I think they got it to 5 or 7, somewhere in that area. I don't know if you watched this.
Yeah, I did get a little bit. Just because I really like Colgate's coach, and they really made a solid charge. They played pretty well, and just every time Texas answered with just a sick catch and shoot 3 or mid range tough 2 by Carr. And then there was just a period where Carr hits a three, Rice hits a transition three. They just went on a run and put it out of reach. But yeah, I was like Colgate played pretty well, and Texas still like dropped a hammer. So if
Texas
they
went
keep
13 of 23 from three.
yeah, like their shot making was pretty ridiculous. So I don't know if that's sustainable. Obviously, setting up with Penn State, like that's gonna be one of the better matchups I think of the second round.
Yeah.
Because, but again, it's both those teams. It's like, can you keep shooting the way you shot in the first round? If you can, well, then we're in for an electric game. But if not, this could get weird fast. So
Penn State wins 76 to 59 over Texas A&M, a game that I was super excited for, and I still had enjoyed watching. Appreciate this, Dead Hoosier. Yeah, make sure you hit the like button if you are in here. We're going to bring these, I think, every day, including Purdue games.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. We'll figure out the timing a little better tomorrow. Did not expect Penn State A&M to start like an hour late, but that's on us. We'll fix that for tomorrow. But yeah, no. Penn State goes 13 of 22 from three. Funk was on an absolute heater, 8 of 10. He hit one from like the like the little ticker thing on the wing, just in rhythm catch. I think it was against the press too, right? They just threw it up against the press.
They just hit it ahead. He just turned and freaking smacked it. That was awesome. That was one of the coolest moments of the game because I was just like, all right, let's go. We're here. And then it just didn't stop. The Avalanche did not stop. Pickett made some sick passes, getting a guy on his back, kicking out to Dredd in the corner. Then he did the same thing the next play to Lundy. Boy, and we said it. A&M allows a bunch of threes. And are they Elite Eight Cowboy? Maybe. Why not?
Yeah, they're in the – I would say probably in the they're probably in the second easiest quadrant too, I would say.
Yeah, and
I don't know. I don't like if they can get Texas. Obviously, is going to be a very tough matchup. Xavier, Iowa State, Pitt, like none of them. Like Iowa State's pressure maybe scares me a little bit for them, but like I think they could beat any of those teams.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
yeah, I think it's possible. I think they're right there with any of those teams below Texas. They just have to beat Texas. And so that's.
Do you think they do beat Texas?
I think Texas. I gotta take Texas because they look great today, too. But they just.
I'll be rooting for Penn State.
I'll definitely be rooting for Penn State. I hope the shot making continues. It's really hard to guard, as Brad Underwood now has famously said. It's hard to guard. Booty ball is very hard to guard, and especially when Funk's shooting the way he does. They may struggle with some of the matchups with Texas a little bit, but yeah, they're fun to watch. I'm so glad they got that win just for Shrews and everybody. Yeah. It's just there was a time where it looked like they were just out of the tournament. Yeah. And now to go on the heater they've gone on and then to get this win it's pretty awesome, man. And I guarantee you everyone in that locker room thinks they're going to beat Texas. I mean, they're a confident group and led by a great, great coach.
Yeah, and the coach that's probably going to end up somewhere else just because of how well he's done. Pickett
he said, I don't know, when they asked him if he's going to be back.
Did somebody asked him that?
Yeah, and he was like, I don't know. And so Micah cannot tell a lie. That's the other thing about him. He just cannot tell a lie. So
yeah, you're saying Georgetown is kind of what you've been saying for a while, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. He's option number 1 at Notre Dame. He's option number 2 at Georgetown. But I think Ed Cooley won't. I think he will probably end up staying at Providence. So if he stays at Providence, expect Shrewsbury to go to Georgetown. But if not, look Notre Dame.
Yeah. Let's bring this up real quick because IU wasn't the IU thing. It was like, oh, that's the formula, right? Just press.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. Pickett 19, 7, and 8. Is there a guard you take over Pickett in the tourney right now? Or do you if there is, like, if you could somehow guarantee the context that Pickett is in?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, it's a hard question because like for a conventional system, I'd probably might take a Marcus Carr, the guy like that. But for this system, hell no way. Because it's just so uniquely tailored to him. And it's, again, I think it's a credit to Shrewsbury for getting guys in the portal, then assessing what he has. You think where he comes from. He comes from Brad Stevens and Matt Painter, which is set heavy and freelance motion and things like that. And he just looked at his team and went, "This is what we have. Now I'm going to do it this way and get creative." And that's such a great quality in a coach. And so many coaches are like, "No, we run my system. We do it my way." And a lot of times that works for guys because they can recruit to that. But Schuster's just like, "I'm getting the best guys I see, and we're going to make this work." And yeah, 0 offers out of high school.
Yeah.
He's such a fun watch. I've never seen anything like him. I just can't remember anybody close to doing what he does. It's so interesting. It's like Sean Livingston on steroids from the Warriors era. Or like, I'm just gonna back you down and then make plays, and he's slippery.
He just facilitates out of it so well.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I'm trying to think of other guards. Again, like for a typical team, like Tiger, I think is really good. Kolek's awesome. Yeah, it's a good call. Braden Smith. Yeah. I would like to say I would love to see Braden Smith play with Andrew Funk, but unfortunately we're never going to see that, because there was one play tonight where Clary drove baseline and Funk was shaking up to the wing, and then Clary just couldn't make the play. Like he had a guy in the corner and he had Funk like shaking up to the wing.
Is that the one where it hit the net?
Yeah, he fires it off the net, and I was just like, if Braden Smith was doing that, that would have been a rhythm 3 for Funk. But
yeah.
Hey.
And hopefully, like John said, I agree. Hope Lawyer has a funky night tomorrow. That's what I want more than anything. And maybe we can just very briefly touch on it, because I think there's a couple comments. I think we said it on all our other shows. Definitely go check that out. If anybody wants, I have a scouting report out on Farley Dickinson. Go on my Twitter at Joe_Jackson2210. You can find it there. It'll be my pinned tweet. For me, I want to see Jenkins get 2K. I want to see Purdue just dominate 1. Jenkins hit 2K and Lawyer just 3 of 6 from 3 or something like that. Those would be my 3 things.
Yeah. I mean, look, they've seen Purdue. They think they can beat Purdue. Apparently, so we'll see.
They think they can. Well, okay, that was. I get it. Well, I get the coach obviously has to say that to his team at some point, right? Like, you're not going to be like, I don't know if we can beat them, guys. Like, obviously you're going to say that. Don't know why you do it in front of the cameras, but like, he just got interviewed right before. Like, he had right after the game, he got interviewed, and they were like, you got Purdue, and he's like, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't thought about Purdue much. Like, I don't know much. And then he goes in and it's like, hey, the more I watch, like, did you watch film in that 5-minute walk or something? Is that what happened?
I think he meant to say, I hope Purdue doesn't see that, or I hope the cameras aren't on, and just it got misinterpreted. I don't blame him for it, because just like, you're a coach, what else are you gonna say? You're trying to get them fired up.
Oh yeah, but I think at some point you have to say it to your team.
Oh yeah, yeah. Maybe you do it on the plane bus ride back or whatever. But Purdue took note of that. They said as much today. Jenkins said they played that clip after the film session, and they're going to play it again before the game tomorrow. And the odds makers would tend to disagree, since they have it as a 23-point favorite. And I do think Purdue covers that spread. Maybe I'm being optimistic. Maybe you disagree. Maybe they get some cheapy threes at the end. It's definitely a team that you don't want to necessarily bet this, because FDU could bank in 3 threes at the end, and now it's 17 instead of 20. But
yeah, I think I think FDU keeps it close-ish for the first 10 to 15. I think they keep it in that 8-ish point range, and then Purdue enough where Purdue fans are like, wait a sec. And then I think Purdue just dominates from there. Kind of almost like a Kansas, honestly, today, what they did to Howard. Sure. Like, if you didn't watch the game, they won by whatever they did. They won 96-68. It was a tied game, like 15 minutes into the game, and Howard had some momentum. And then Kansas just like, okay. Like, I think that's probably the scenario I see for them.
Yeah, I think that's how it's going to play out as well, especially with the freshman guards acclimating. For the first game.
Yeah, hopefully get some rhythm. We'll be live right here. Bags in the Stands, wherever you are watching. If they blow this lead in the second half, that would be tough. That would be actual issues.
I almost want to see the Purdue fans meltdown, like just our collective meltdown, if that happens again, assuming we ultimately win. But just if we get out 25 and then it's 3 with a minute left.
Just for fun. They press us obviously every play too. And then
we would get so much hate from the national people. It would be
people would be like, Memphis or FAU should be favored. That would be the response.
Purdue is public enemy number 1 right now. I don't understand
Number
how
2,
that happened. Behind
Alabama.
Alabama. Yeah, okay, that's fair.
For
But
public enemy number 1 for purely on-court reasons.
yeah, for the non capital murder charges, like Purdue is up there. People just hate Edie too. Like they just hate Edie. When the video of him hitting a 3 today had so much hate on it. Like people were just like, meh, like, oh yeah, you can make 1 3, congrats. People were like, it took him so long to load that shot. And I was just thinking, dude, he's 7'4". Like I actually believe if he was allowed to shoot threes, like he would, and he would make a decent number. I really do believe that because he's just such a worker, and like I've seen him do it. I've been to practices where he hits threes over and over and over again. So to me, it's like if he's just standing out in that corner, I don't want him to do this at all because, as he says, like keep it simple. But anyway, that's my side on that.
I'm with you there. But yeah, no, I agree. Like Purdue, and I guess it's because they lost to St. Peter's, and that it's just people don't trust. And I have them winning.
We're most hated, and Braden Smith is very hated, especially by our guy Greg Waddell. He just can't get enough. Oh my gosh, he can't get enough without getting.
He loves Boo Booey.
He had a meme. This is my last thing, and then we got to get out of here. But this is my last thing. He made a meme. It was Braden Smith not against the press, and it was Foster Lawyer in a Davidson uniform, and then it was Braden Smith against the press in a Michigan. It was Foster Lawyer in a Michigan State uniform.
All right. Yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Like I do agree with that, Hoocher. That's like it's just keep down in Purdue. They weren't picked to win the Big Ten. They were not. Nobody picked them to win the Big Ten tourney. They did both of those. Nobody's picking them really to win this. So yeah, agreed with our guy Braggs just tuning in. Like everybody does want to see Edie fall because you can at least like contest shot making and stuff like elite guards and be like, man, that's just a tough shot. He made that. Congrats. Edie is just, he just put the ball in. Like, and you just can't do anything. And people don't like that, I think. So
they hate us, man. What are you going to do but win?
Hopefully Purdue just takes care of the business tomorrow. It would be funny to blow the lead, but I'm hoping not because I don't think my heart rate could take it either. So we'll be live, like I said, after the show. Hopefully keep it somewhat short so that way we can all watch Memphis FAU. She'll be right after. We'll hopefully get the winner of that, assuming we win. And then we'll be live sometime tomorrow night again doing one of these. So appreciate everybody.
Just to clarify, we'll have 2 live shows. Two
separate ones.
We'll have this version of this again, and obviously our normal Boilers in the Stands post-game show right at the buzzer with me, Joe, and Greg. Yeah, and then Joe and I will go live after all the games are done or whenever they're out of reach, like it was tonight. So we will give you live takes on Memphis FAU after watching that game. So make sure you tune in if you want to hear about Purdue, hopefully Purdue, Memphis FAU, hopefully not Fairleigh Dickinson versus either of those 2 teams.
So appreciate everybody tuning in. That'll actually we'll be going live after IU Kent State ends. Just straight up, that's when it'll be. That's the last game. So we'll get some. We're predicting an IU upset or IU gets upset, so maybe we'll be able to talk about that too. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and then like we said, live tomorrow. A lot of content. Follow us on Twitter, and appreciate it, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.